Welcome to the Communication Diva podcast, episode 17. In today's podcast, Jenn discusses the related themes of motivation and initiative, what leads us to act, and what are the steps in taking that action. The motto for today's podcast might be, just do something. You know, that reminds me of an old saying. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that reminds me of another old saying, don't judge a person until you've walked a mile in their shoes. Which reminds me of yet another saying. I believe it was Robert Louis Stevenson who said, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. Boy, I think Jenn might be onto something with this motivation and initiative subject. I could sit around talking about this stuff all day.
Welcome to the Communication Diva podcast. I'm Jenn Swanson, and I'm so glad that you're here listening today. And for those of you who celebrated Easter, I hope it was a blessed one for you. And for those not celebrating Easter, I hope you had a really restful weekend. I am sitting here in sunny Vancouver area, and the sky is blue and the birds are singing, and it's absolutely beautiful out today. I had a really busy week, of course, because one of my jobs is working in ministry in a church. And so I had 4 services in 4 days and lots of responsibilities during each. So I'm almost incoherent here. I'm really, really tired, but it's good to be talking to you again. And I hope that if this is your first time listening, or if you are a repeat visitor, that you will find something of value for you in this session. And that if you do, you'll reach out and say hello or leave a comment on the website. It's really helpful for me to receive some kind of feedback and to find out what topics you would like me to cover in upcoming episodes. So take the time, if you would, to come over to www.communicationdiva.com and share your thoughts. That would be really helpful. Communication Diva can also be heard on iTunes, on Zune, on BlackBerry, and on Stitcher Smart Radio. And if you haven't heard of Stitcher Smart Radio, this is a free app for your iPhone, your iPod, anything you can carry around pretty much. And this app can be found at my website on the sidebar, and the promo code is just my name. So you can click on the image there of Stitcher Smart Radio and enter the promo code, which is JENN Swanson, all one word. And this is an affiliate link. If you do download this app, which is absolutely free to you, I will receive $1. And I thank you for that in advance. This will allow you to listen to all sorts of podcasts at your leisure and in whatever order you like, and you can create your own radio play station from thousands and thousands of amazing podcasts that are out there. And so it's a really great app. I've got it on my phone, and I'm behind actually at the moment listening to them all, but it's really great to listen to in my car when I'm driving around. One of the other exciting things I wanted to tell you about before we get into our topic is that in June of this year, in just a couple of short months, I will be heading to New York City for the very first time. And if that's not exciting enough, the reason I'm going to attend is that I'm going to New York is that I am going to attend Blog World Expo 2012. This is the conference for podcasters and bloggers from around the world. And it's a big event. They've had it in New York City. They've had it in LA. And I'm really looking forward to being there and to learning all sorts of things from the speakers there. I'm also looking forward to meeting many of the wonderful people that I've met online through the creation of Communication Diva and through the podcast mastermind group that I am part of. So I will be letting you know later on how all of that goes, and I'm just really excited about it. I'm sure I'm going to learn a whole lot more about podcasting, and that you will eventually reap the benefits of my learning in future episodes. If any of you have any advice regarding what is a must-see in New York City during my one free day that I have there, please let me know that too. I will consider all recommendations. So let's get into the topic for today, and the topic is motivation and initiative. Now, these words are similar, but they're not exactly the same, and I wanted to look more closely at them and talk a little bit about them because I think the reason that many people don't succeed at what they are hoping to succeed at or to accomplish, whether it be in business or career or personal interests, is because motivation and initiative are either short-lived or lacking altogether. Now, it's one thing to have the technical know-how of how to do something, but if you're not motivated to do it or you don't have the initiative, the action step, the piece that makes you actually go towards that goal, then you're not really ever going to get there. Let's take a look first at how these are defined. And I looked up a few different definitions, and here's one from dictionary.com. And it says that motivation is defined as the act or an instance of providing with a reason to act in a certain way. It also says that it is the state or condition of being motivated, or something that motivates or is of incentive. So, for example, the company's long-term motivation is profit. Synonyms for motivation are inspiration, inducement, and cause. So this is the reason why you want to do something. So that's motivation. The other word is initiative. And initiative is defined as an introductory act or step, or a leading action, for example, taking the initiative in making friends. Another way of saying it is that initiative is the readiness and ability in initiating action, that it's one's personal responsible decision, as in to act on one's own initiative. And synonyms for the word are forcefulness, dynamism, and one that I particularly resonate with, leadership. So if initiative is the action or the readiness to take action, motivation is the reason or the incentive for taking that action. These two seem like extremely important elements that are necessary in all areas of life. Now, part of what has been so significant for me in starting first the blog Communication Diva and then the podcast has been the recurring mantra-like message that I have gotten from people I respect, that the only way to get from A to B is to take the first step. In September of 2011, I had no idea what a blog even was. And you may have heard this story before, but I thought that a blog was something that people used as an online diary, sort of for themselves or for their friends, and that it had to be full of family photos and, you know, all the cute things that your kids did, etc. And I've since learned that while this kind of blogging is definitely out there, there are thousands of other blogs out there that are anything but online diaries, blogs on all manner of topics, blogs that can help you to do all sorts of different things, that are resources, that are commentaries, and some of them that are reporting, much like journalism would be. So I've learned a lot about what blogs are since last September. Also in September of 2011, I had no idea how to begin because I knew relatively little about computer technology, and I certainly had no idea how to build a website. One day I was tootling about on the internet, stumbling about, and I came across a couple of sites that pretty much blew me away and that had all of the information I needed on them to get me going. And one of them was an inspirational type site, and the other one was a site that was more practical with how to do these kinds of things. And I've since found numerous other sites on how to blog, how to set up your website, etc., etc. There's so much out there that is free that can help you if you just take the time to spend the time actually to learn how to do it. So one of the first things I was asked to consider was what I wanted to accomplish. So if I was at A, if A was my starting position and I wanted to get to B, what exactly was B? And more importantly, why did I want to get there? What was the motivation? What was the thing or the reason why that I wanted to go from A to B in the first place? So largely the why question will have to do with your values. What is it that you value in life so much that you are willing to do something to get from one place to another? So it could be more time, it could be attention, it could be financial reasons. There could be numerous different reasons that motivate you to get from A to B. Why are you wanting to do it? Do you want to spend more time with your family? Do you want to be your own boss? Do you want to have a relationship? There are all sorts of reasons why. So my A was being exhausted all the time working 2 jobs. Going to school, because I'm going to school working very slowly on a master's degree, spending far too much time in my car commuting because one of my jobs is an hour's drive each way away, running about with family and kids doing things that had to be done rather than things that we wanted to do, and not having much time with my husband or my family just to play and relax and enjoy this life that seems to be zooming by. I also had not read a novel in 2 years because I was reading textbooks and doing homework all the time. Not having time to cook healthy, proper food. I love to cook. And not having time to actually putter about in the kitchen and do those kinds of things. Canning and preserving and, creating things. Gardening, playing in the garden and growing food and flowers and just being outside. Those are all of the things that I love to do. And I wasn't able to do any of those things much. That's where I was last fall. So my B, my goal, the place that I would love to be and that I'm working towards steadily, is to work part of the time for myself from home. Being creative and helping others to learn and grow and to change their lives for the better by sharing what skills and knowledge I have accumulated over the years. One of the things I'd like to do and I'm working on is being certified as a conflict coach. And this is helping people who have either internal personal conflicts or conflicts in the workplace with other people to manage those and to overcome those and to strategize ways in which to get past those conflicts. And so I've been taking courses as well on how to do that. And hopefully before summer, I will have a certificate in conflict coaching and hope to offer those services and start to build a client base. So I have all sorts of things that I want to be doing that will help me to get from my A to B. Why do I want to get from A to B? I think I've already said my values are the things that I love to be doing. I want to stop driving so much for the environment and also just time-wise. I want to spend more time at home cooking healthy food, growing things in the garden. I want to exercise regularly. I try to do that, but I'm not getting there as often as I would like to, and looking after my health and the health of my family more. I want to contribute to the growth and transformation of others in a valuable and eventually in a profitable way. I would like to reclaim time more than anything. And I really could not see how to do that given the trajectory I was on last fall. So I had my A and I could see my B and I knew my why. Why, W-H-Y, why I wanted to do these things. So my values were there, my reasons were there, my motivation was there. But how do I begin? So repeatedly, from finding these different websites and talking to different people who had done this, I was told repeatedly to just do something. Take initiative. It's all fine and dandy to sit around imagining wonderful things happening, but if you don't take steps to make these things happen, they aren't going to happen. Right? So initiative is the action and motivation is the reason behind the action. I was motivated by examining my values and seeing how many of them were not being honored as a result of all of these things I was trying to accomplish. I knew last September that I couldn't continue at the mad pace that I was going at for much longer. I actually spoke at length with my spiritual director. A spiritual director is somewhat like a coach, only with a spiritual perspective, and I've been seeing like for about, I guess 2.5 years now. And I was talking to her about feeling like I was being backed right into a corner with nowhere to go and nowhere out. And it was a really horrible feeling. And it was shortly after that time that I discovered these blogs, and the idea started percolating in my brain that maybe there was a way to get from A to B after all. And that is how Communication Diva came to be. I had no idea how to begin, really. But I kept reading that the first step in all of this was to take a first step. And so I wrote out a to-do list of small steps and made sure that I did at least 2 or 3 of them every day. So I had my A at the top, I had my B at the bottom, and I had a whole lot of work to do in between. I had to think up a name, and then I had to see if that name was available because I had to buy a domain name. So I had to go through a series of names that I thought would be kind of fun. I wanted something catchy, something kind of cheeky, a little bit, something kind of fun, and then to see if it was available. So I didn't even know how to do that. I had to learn all about web hosting, and that's how I found Bluehost. And I'm going to put a link to the things that I'm mentioning here on the website in case this is something that is one of your goals, is to start creating a website or a blog. And these are affiliate links. So if you do go through the services on my website, I will get a commission, and I'll thank you for that in advance. So Bluehost is the service that I used, and I learned all about them, and they were really reasonable, something like $6.95 a month for hosting. And I purchased a domain name, so I own the name communicationdiva.com, and I think it was a grand total of about $9.95 for that name. And I had to learn all about that. I had to learn about how to use WordPress and eventually the thesis theme, which is also something that is on my website. And this is a theme that you install on WordPress that gives you greater functionality, and it's very easy to use and it's very versatile. And I had one blogger friend say, "Oh, I see you've bought Thesis. You're never going to have to buy another theme ever again. It's fantastic." So that was something else that I had to learn all about, and then how to navigate around that. And I used all sorts of help that's out there on the internet on how to use these themes. I needed artwork, so I got a contact in New York and asked somebody, excuse me, who does this as a hobby, to make some artwork. And the list goes on and on. There were all sorts of steps, but I really found that there was a lot of support out there in Cyberland and friendly, lovely people willing to answer my questions. And that once the motivation was there and in front of me all of the time, and once I took initiative and took each next step, I was a bit further along in getting from my A to B. Then, of all things, in December of 2011, I discovered podcasting. And again, I knew really nothing about it. I've kind of heard about it, but through more help and amazing people, I ended up buying my little digital audio recorder that I'm talking to you on right now, a Roland RO5, and I will put that link on the website. And this digital audio recorder was one that was recommended to me highly, and that I have really enjoyed using over the past several months. This thing is so small and so portable, and the batteries last forever, and it's so easy to use. And I've been told the sound quality is pretty darn good, considering I'm not using an external microphone or anything much else, that this is a great way to get started. So I bought that and I began a new adventure in creativity and connection. And this is my 17th week straight of producing this show. And guess what? I love doing this. And so, I had no idea that this would be part of this adventure when I started back in September. But after having taken the very first few steps, things started to happen. So I could never have guessed last September that I would have listeners in 33 countries from around the world, or that I would be on my way to New York City in a couple of months, or that I would have an ebook on professionalism published on Kindle and Amazon, which is pretty darn exciting, or that I would be so fired up about all of this stuff. So fired up that sometimes I can hardly sleep at night. So who knew, right? And it all started with the mantra, just do something. No one else is going to do it for you, and no one else is going to take you to where you want to be except you. And this is something that I have learned. I could quite easily still be back in that stuck place, feeling as though there was no way out of the corner, backed in by all of the shoulds and have-tos in my life. But instead, I am now standing here in April of 2012, looking out at all the multiple possibilities that are before me, and I can hardly catch my breath wondering what will come next. Guest speaking engagements are on the horizon. Leadership workshops. I'm hoping to be doing a leadership workshop on professionalism in the workplace with a group of grade 12 students at a high school locally in the near future that will give me great information on expanding this ebook, because I have been urged by my mastermind group to make it a full-length book. Right now, it's a little short guide that's available for $1.99. You can find the link to it on the website at communicationdiva.com. But I have been encouraged to put this out in a hard copy published version, and so I'm beginning to do some work on that. Those are all some of the goals. So guest speaking, leadership workshops, putting out a longer publication. Who knows what else is going to happen? But there are all sorts of goals now on my new list, and my list is what I call my list of possibility. So motivation can be powerful, but truly it's useless unless initiative follows it. One of my day jobs is as an instructor in a healthcare program at a local college where I teach several subjects, including I do some teaching online, but I also teach communication or human relations skills. And I go out and supervise students in the hospitals from time to time during their practicums or their clinical placements. So they do an 8-month in-class program, and then they take everything that they've learned and they go out and they do a hands-on portion for about 7 weeks. And that requires instructors to go around and check up on them and to watch them and to make sure that they are doing all of the things that we have taught them to do. So one day a few years ago, I walked onto a hospital unit to check up on a student unit clerk I was supervising during her clinical placement. And if you want to know what a unit clerk is, go to www.communicationdiva.com/nursing unit clerk, all one word. And you'll find a blog post there explaining exactly what this career is all about, because a lot of people have never heard of it before, and it's a really cool career. Anyhow, I had several students that I was responsible for in that hospital. It was a major downtown Vancouver hospital, and I would randomly pop in to see students and see what they were up to, watch them on the telephone, or watch their communication with doctors and nurses or other healthcare personnel, and check up on their paperwork, because the paperwork that this particular job requires is legal paperwork, very, very detailed and very precise. If a unit clerk makes a mistake, transcribing a drug order that a doctor has written and the nurse gives the wrong drug and something bad happens to the patient, then the unit clerk is 50% responsible in a court of law. So it's a very particular, responsible, important job. And that's why we go around and pay attention to what the students are doing. So I came upon this student sitting idly at the desk, and I was a little bit surprised because one of the things that we emphasize very strongly in the training is that the students take initiative and never are to be sitting idly, because on a hospital unit, there is always something that needs doing. Always. From filing to checking to make sure hospital records are in order, to tidying, to answering phones, ordering supplies, processing doctor's orders, or just learning more about particular diseases or problems so that the next time they are encountered, they have a little bit of background knowledge. There's never nothing to do. It's a very, very busy, involved job. But this student was sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So I tried to ask really casually, so what's up? Not much, she answered. My preceptor's on her coffee break. And I said, so what are you doing? Well, she didn't tell me what to do, so I'm not really doing anything. At this point, if there was a little buzzer around, I would have said, wrong. At this point, I scanned the nursing station and I saw several tasks that easily could have been done. I looked particularly at the computer printer that had a stack of papers in the tray, and I pointed to the computer printer and I said, what are those? Of course, I knew that they were probably lab results that are printed directly from the laboratory to the nursing units. And lab results are the results from blood tests that have been taken on patients throughout the day. And they need to be put somewhere for the nurse in charge to check and make sure that they're not out of whack before they get filed. So usually there's a spot that the unit clerk is supposed to, first of all, she's supposed to scan them to see if anything is super high and then take it directly to a nurse to bring it to a nurse's attention, because there could be something very wrong with the patient. Or they, if everything sort of looks average, then they're supposed to put it somewhere for a nurse in charge to peruse. And then once they've been okayed and checked, then the unit clerk can file them. So there's a lot involved there. And first off, they should be looked at in case there's something that is unusual. And the student just looked at me and she kind of shrugged and she said, I don't know. And all I could do right there is refrain from shrieking. The body language of the student was completely uncaring. She didn't know, she didn't care, and because her preceptor hadn't explicitly told her what to do, she was waiting. She was waiting to be told what to do, and she was not taking any initiative. Now, I should mention that this drives me crazy, right? But being a professional and being an instructor and having to be, fair and calm and all of the rest of it, I did not shriek. But I had to have a bit of a talk with her about this. We teach specifically in the classroom that all of the different things a student should be looking for in order to have things to do in these cases, and blood work and filing is top among them. This is not a new concept. This was simply laziness and a lack of initiative on the student's part. Or I should say, in order to be fair, that it could have been fear of not knowing what to do that she was masking with this tone of uncaring. So it could have been that she was afraid to do anything on her own. And if I pick that up through body language or just through a gut feeling, then I will work with the student on that. But I wasn't getting that sense. It could have been, but I wasn't getting that sense. I was just getting the sense that she didn't really want to do too much and she was going to wait until someone came back and told her what to do, which really didn't work so well. In the end, this student did not complete the program, and it certainly wasn't because of one incident, but it was because of several more similar instances that occurred throughout the 7 weeks that just told us that there really wasn't any motivation for this person to be here. And every once in a while, we get students in our program who are there because mom or dad thought this would be a good idea for them and was paying for them, and the student really didn't have any internal desire to be doing this in the first place. And so the heart wasn't in it. And you can really, really tell. Motivation needs to come from within yourself, not from somebody else. Or else you're really not bought into it. You haven't bought into it. So sitting around waiting to be told what to do at work is going to get you about as far as sitting around hoping something amazing will happen to you in your life. Nowhere. Sitting around hoping that you're going to win the lottery, but you've never actually bought a ticket. Well, chances are. So the mantra, again, is just do something, right? Now, I have an exercise for you to try. And if you need to stop this podcast and start it again, feel free to do that. But I'd like you to get a piece of paper out or a computer screen or whatever, wherever you are. Not if you're driving, though. Wait until after. Play this again. And write down at the top of the page the letter A and the title, Where I Am Now. So right across the top of the page, A, semicolon or colon, and Where I Am Now. And then at the very bottom of the page, and you might need 2 or 3 pages, so just go to the very end, write the letter B and Where I Want to Be is what you write down. So at the top of the page, it's Where I Am Now. At the bottom of the page, it's Where I Want to Be. Now you got that? I don't know. You might have to stop for a minute and go and do that. And that's fine. And now just underneath the top title, the top of the page, fill in where you are now in whatever capacity you want to. So where are you in your work life right now? Where are you in your financial position, in your relationships, in your personal life? Whatever area you want to cause change in, where are you right now? Are you in a job you don't like? Are you hoping for some kind of an education experience? Where are you right now? So once you have that written down right underneath the top title, go to the very bottom, right above where it says Where I Want to Be, and write down your dream. So your goal, where you want to be. This can be in your career, in your financial state, in your relationships or your personal life or your education or whatever you choose. What is your goal? And remember that your goal should be based on what it is you value in life. What are your values? What are things that you hold dear to you in your life that you would like more of? So once you've got the top of the page completed and the bottom of the page or 3 pages down, whatever, done, the hardest part comes. And you might want to take several days or weeks or whatever to completely fill this in and think about it for a while. I can tell you that mine is still incomplete because I have not reached my goal of working part-time for myself yet. So mine is a work in progress, but I did begin right at the top and start and wrote down a lot of things. So don't jump steps. Start at the very first line underneath the top heading and write down one thing that you can do today that will eventually get you down to the bottom heading. So one thing. And if you can't think of other things to add underneath, that's okay. But if you can think of other steps, go ahead and add them. And this list might get very long. Again, you might need to do this with 2 or 3 pages, but that's okay. So the important thing is to do the first thing and to do it now. So the most singularly important thing to do next is to just do it. Do whatever it is that you have written down and do it now. Do it today. Do it right after you finish listening to this podcast. Take whatever it is that you've written down as your very first step. So, what is that first step? It can be a baby step. It can be something very, very small. It can be something as simple as going online and looking up what you have to do to register for a course. It could be taking a look at your bank account and your finances and seeing what the state of those are. It could be I don't know, whatever it is, one step that you have thought up that you can do that will eventually get you down to the bottom of the page. And then keep going, right? So each day, add more steps, add more things. And I can assure you that you will feel an amazing sense of accomplishment having taken the first step, because I am told that most people just don't. Most people, even people who are motivated, don't get past the idea and don't take the initiative, the action piece. And it is these people who don't succeed in reaching their goals and dreams. And along the way, you might get stuck. And along the way, you might feel like, oh, this is too much work. This is too hard. But you know what? You can look back at this list and you could say, look how far I've come so far. And I still have a long way to go, yes, but I've actually been moving forward. Every single day, I've moved a little bit forward. I am nowhere near finished, and I don't know if I ever will be finished. But my goal keeps growing and changing, and I have taken the first step and the second and the third and the 33rd. And guess what? I'm having a grand adventure. I'm still working 2 jobs, and I'm still doing all sorts of other things, but I no longer feel squashed into a corner doing all of these things because I have to. I have changed my entire outlook, and I am now doing things because I want to, and because I can see how motivation combined with action or initiative can bring incredible results. And I'm really excited to see where all of this is going to lead. So it's actually, it sounds easy, but for a lot of people, if you're still sitting around on your couch doing nothing, you're never going to get down to the bottom of the page and to your goal. And that goal might keep moving. That goal might go on to more pages because you might change it as you're going along. But the trick is that mantra, just do something. All right. So I want to thank you for listening to my story and to this episode 17 of Communication Diva podcast. I would really love to hear what your goals are, whether they're big or small, and how you plan to get to them. So please come to the website, leave me a comment, and then I'd really love you to get out your piece of paper and get going. Because you know what? You can do it. Absolutely, you can. This is Jenn Swanson. I hope you've gotten some value out of this episode and that you have enjoyed it. I look forward to talking to you again next time. Blessings.